Hello, this is Sharayah Gariepy, and my design project is about my student Kay, who's a second grade reluctant writer. Now, Kay is a very smart student. She is strong in math, she's strong in reading, but I noticed very right away at the beginning of the year that she was struggling to write with any sort of volume, and she was able to write one sentence that was dictated by me, but then she froze up and was in tears. So I assumed that my relationship with Kay was already developed. I had her two older brothers. I know her mom. She's been friends with my daughter. And so I assumed that the relationship was already developed. But I learned throughout the past several months working with her that I needed to develop a teacher student relationship with her, which was going to look different than the ways that I felt she was already comfortable with me. I've also learned that Kate benefits greatly from working with peers as opposed to her teacher. She needed more explicit instruction, and student choice has been powerful for her motivation and increased volume of writing. So, within explicit instruction, I had assumed because she was strong in other areas that she would also be strong in writing. And I've learned that the task needs to be appropriate for her within writing. And the way to get there is through direct instruction as well as scaffolding with things like sentence stems. I've also noticed that she feels more intimidated when I'm there standing next to her. She doesn't like the attention. And so for her, more powerful is like a peer coach or collaborative time. And so originally they might turn and talk or share at the end, but I've worked in ways to embed this more through the whole writing process. So she has a partner to work with coming up with ideas, to get revision and feedback, to help her edit, and the whole process. Now she has an ongoing partner to work with her, which has greatly helped her and all students. Lastly, I know that student choice is really important. And so I've always had flexible seating, and I gave her the option of who she was going to write her initial assignment to. But I've realized now giving her options of what her writing might look like, whether that's digital or physical, whether or not she's drawing pictures concurrent with her writing, has really helped her. So giving her more choices in the content as well as presentation of her writing. Now, I had planned to emphasize the gradual release of responsibility by Pearson and Gallagher, which was not a part of this course, but made sense to go alongside with the things we're learning, as well as scaffolds, and then the private praise that we know is emphasized in Wenzel's text. The goal then, of course, is to increase her volume of writing, her self-efficacy, as mentioned in Wenzel's text as well, and her independence. We also know within the target model that working with peers and grouping, as well as authority and student choice, quiet recognition, and flexibility of time are all key components for motivation. So, my plan was to emphasize the goals that you see on my screen on the left through the gradual release and writing process. So, me teaching more explicitly, then giving her a chance to work with her peers, and then that independent accountability. Wenzel mentions on 216 and 217 the positive interdependence as well as individual accountability. So, not just working with a partner, but also still being held accountable. I've also noticed that having things like graphic organizers so she can set goals and plan before she actually writes. And then we know that most students prefer private praise. Wenzel talks about this too. And so recognizing more specifically and privately based on her academic progress has been powerful for her. Of course, the goal here is to increase her volume, to increase her independence, to give her the scaffold so that the challenging task can feel more appropriate. We know that the precondition for learning in Oka's lecture is that the task needs to be appropriate to the student. And we also know that developing self-efficacy, this belief that we can do this, is important. Oka mentions that before third grade, it's still a lot easier to help a student have that growth mindset and grow and recognize I have this ability. So encouraging that in second grade has been very powerful for Kay. Now, I've mentioned some of the rationale earlier with some of the references to our text, but we know from the target model that grouping is important, that students enjoy working together. We also know that recognizing them privately is really important. And we also know that students who need extra time should be given that extra time to complete assignments, which is on page 41 of Wenzel's text. So flexible agility in terms of time, in terms of the ways that I know that Kay works, and recognizing that the power of working together instead of the power of my attention. So I've already seen results with this. Kay is writing half a page, if not more, with very little coaching from me, using the graphic organizers, using her peers, using the scaffolds. Her comfort level has increased. She raises her hand in class to share. She's developed that positive relationship. And I have emphasized, Wenzel says, motivational saturation. And I've been trying to think again, by Adam Grant, there's a book called Think Again about having my own confident humility to adapt the ways that I can reach Kay.